Could I have your attention, please? Susan shared with me that she does not like long introductions. She said when she hears people reading introductions about her, she finds herself looking around the room, wondering who that person might be, and Susan has to remember, oh no, that person is me. Like most people, Susan finds it very difficult to just simply sit still and receive a compliment or listen to others say positive words about her accomplishments. Instead of an actual introduction, Susan asked that I just say she is very pleased to be invited to Goshen High School to share her story about her journey with all of you this afternoon.
You're like, what in the world? Who is this coming to talk to us? That was the craziest introduction we've ever heard. So thank you for the pre-applause. We'll see if I deserve applause by the time I get finished. So truly, thank you. Is this staying on?
Yep.
Okay, well, I have a loud mouth, so if it doesn't, that'll be okay too. Thank you very, very much. I am truly, the word I am feeling right now is humility. I am extremely humbled to be here with all of you this afternoon. I have a short period of time to tell you about what I feel is a very long life journey that I have been on to become the grown-up that I am today and to be in the career that I am today. When I saw the opportunity to come and speak, I wrote to Mr. Edwards, and I kind of had this yucky feeling. I thought, I'm not good enough. He's not even going to write back to me. He's going to say, she's a nerdy girl. Like we don't want to hear about this. And he wrote back, immediately. And he said, your kind of story is exactly the kind of story that we would like to hear. And I went, it made my whole month. I was so thrilled. So I am inspired to come and speak with you because of really one little issue and one issue only. When I drove up here and I got even to the word that said high school, I started to get this horrible feeling in my stomach, and it has nothing to do with that you're Goshen High School. Nothing to do with that. It has to do with the word high school. And when I got my car into the parking lot, and even when I started to walk up towards the building, the intensity of that yucky feeling continued in my stomach. And I had to take some deep breaths. And lucky for me, I do yoga because I know how to relax. And I got calm because high school, no matter where I go, high school holds such tough memories for me. High school was not a good place for me. And my journey, my life journey, goes even further back to that. It goes back to when I was in grade school. And in fact, my journey goes back to even further than that. In fact, I would like to introduce you to someone who's going to help tell my story. And you probably can't see this little person very well, but this person is 4 years old. And it's someone that I have grown to love so much. And you want to take a little guess at who this little person is that I've grown to love so much? This picture was taken in 1959. It's not my daughter. It's not my niece. This is a picture of me. Yeah, this is a picture of me when I was 4 years old. I have some moments in my life that I call pivotal moments, transitional pivotal moments. When I was 4 years old, I almost died. I almost drowned in the pool that was in my family's backyard. It was one of those above ground, round, big pools, and I almost died. Obviously, I didn't. Here I am. Pivotal, transformational moment for me. Now, I didn't know that then when I was 4, but I have learned to have lots of flashbacks and lots of memories about that time that have come to have huge impact on me in my life as I've gotten older. The big message from that is, baby, when it's not your time, it's not your time. So when I was 4 years old, I had a sister that was 2. The message was, it's not your time to go yet. There was work for me to do. Now, when you're 4, you don't know that. But you know what I did know when I was 4? I knew, compared to my sister who was 2, I was different. Here's how I was different. Did you check out that hairdo? That short, croppy, cruddy, stick out what I called hairdo? I have long, natural, curly hair. Back in the 50s, long, natural, curly hair was not considered the thing. I don't know what the thing was because I was 4 then. I couldn't ask. My family kept my hair cut really short, and they kept it brushed upward. Hence, my hair stuck out all over the place. I hated my hair. My sister, who was 2, had gorgeous, long, perfectly straight hair that she wore down to the middle of her back. I played with my sister's hair. I loved my sister's hair. I would put her hair on my hair, and I would walk around behind her like this because I loved her hair so much. I would walk around with cuckoo things on my hair. Rags, string, ribbons. I wanted long, beautiful hair. Eventually, I got the hair. I'm not sure I like it. We never like what we have. I still want the long, straight, beautiful hair, and I think I would like it blonde, but I'm not going there. Anyway, the point is, I began to notice things about myself. At 4 years old, I knew inside I was sad. I knew I was different because my sister was smart. She was beginning to know things like letters and being able to read, and she was beginning to open books and recognize words, and I couldn't do that. Okay, now we're going to flash forward. Other people in my life are extremely powerfully important to me, and there are a lot of them, and they happen to be captured in one single portrait. When my family, this was about in the, it doesn't really matter when, there are 6 siblings altogether, and I am the oldest. And I have my parents, Mary Sue and R.J. This portrait was taken right after I had gotten married. We have determined that sometimes the voodoo in our family is go get married, and about a year later, you end up getting divorced. So this portrait hung in my parents' house forever, but I wasn't too crazy about it because the guy I was had been married to, I had to look at him all the time, and he was no longer in my life. Plus, we didn't have children. So it was kind of like a sore spot, especially if I was dating someone and bringing them over. Who wants a reminder of the guy you're dating, of the person you used to be married to, if you get my drift? It's kind of a relationship breaker. So anyway, my father passed away. And then the house that my parents had lived in for 60 years, we had to take out everything in that house. And I didn't know that this portrait was still around. My mother hung on to everything. So one night I couldn't sleep about a year ago, and I redesigned this portrait, and it now exists at my house. As you can see, you can't see the guy I used to be married to because I covered him up with these 2 cute little girls. These are my brother's children, Ava and Marissa, my nieces, who are my absolute lifeline. So I'm going to introduce you to my family. This is my father, RJ. He's passed away now, so I can speak ill of him and not take any repercussions. Sorry, Dad. He came home one day. His name is Ralph Joseph Velardo. He came home one day when we were all little, and he said, "Kids, I'm changing my name. From now on, I just want you to call me RJ." And my littlest brother, this is Tommy, at the time, teeny tiny, could hardly speak. He had a little speech problem. He couldn't say his R's. He couldn't say his S's. He said, "Okay, Daddy, we call you RJ Daddy." My dad's like, no, that's not what I mean. We're all like, our dad is flipping out. But henceforth, it stuck, and from then on, people had to call him RJ. This is my brother. I'll go in succession. I'm the oldest, as I had said before. I got a little easel here. Let me do this. I need a little assistant, don't I? Oh, forget it. That's what I thought that would happen. Okay, we got Susan, then there's Judy, then there's my sister Patty, and then there is my brother Johnny, and Ralph, and Tommy. These people, as I said, are my lifeline. Sometimes I didn't always remember that as I was going through the cycle of getting older. And sometimes that's true for all of us. Sometimes we have an extreme love-hate relationship with our family. And the other thing that I love about families is you can make choices. You don't have to be hanging with your family if you feel they are toxic for you. You can separate yourself from them, which is something you're going to hear about me. All right, those are my family. I want to talk about being in school. So here I am going to school, and RJ Daddy makes the big announcement when I'm in 8th grade, and here I am struggling. Remember that little 4-year-old who recognized that she wasn't all that intelligent? She was struggling. Boy, did that struggle really come through in reading all through grade school. What I really learned is if you become the class clown, you take the attention away from the fact that you're struggling, make everybody laugh, be friends with the teacher, stay after school, help the teacher. The teacher really was good about helping tutor. But what I really, really knew is that I was a terrible reader. All I wanted to do was learn to just take myself away in the adventures of books and reading, and I couldn't read. I couldn't read like my 2-year younger sister could. She would stay up night, make a tent under the bed with a sheet, use a flashlight, and she would go on adventures. Why do I know this? Because I would beg her to read out loud. And the stories she would tell filled me with just so much yearning. And I couldn't read. I couldn't even read at the same level she was. But school was not able to detect that. What I later learned, because I'm getting ahead of the story, is that I had an undiagnosed learning disability called dyslexia. So here I am as a kid, struggling to keep up with the other students. I'm in the lowest reading level all the time. So what do? I wasn't really that unintelligent. I became good friends with the only guy who didn't have friends, the geeky, smart guy. This guy rode a unicycle. Do you know what a unicycle is? It's a one-wheeled thing. He rode a unicycle. I mean, who's riding a unicycle around the neighborhood? Nobody. His name was Bruce. Bruce would help me all the time. He got me all the way through 8th grade. But when I got out of grade school, my father announced he wanted to send me to an all-girls college prep academy. 4 years of terror, 4 years of nightmares, 4 years of struggle. And what did I do? My secret dream was that I was going to make it through high school, go to college, I was going to become an actress. That was my dream. And I held that secret dream inside. I never told anyone, but that was going to be my dream. Until I accidentally overheard the principal of the high school telling my parents the following. You know, don't push her. Don't be upset if she's bringing home C's and D's. That's all she can do. She's not college material. Just be happy with what she is. She's not going anywhere else. I overheard that. I didn't get sad. Remember that little 4-year-old girl I showed you before? She didn't get sad. She got mad. She got really mad. And I said, pouty face and all, actress face and all. I said, I'll show them. I am going to college. And so when all those girls in that all-girls high school were wandering around going, I went to this college and I visited this college and I did this and that, I made it up. I made up story after story about colleges that I went to visit and this, I'm going to this place and that place. And then graduation came and I was cooked. Because all those lies and all those stories I made up, I didn't know where I was going. And I was depressed. And then a pivotal moment happened. Friends from 8th grade called and said, we're going to the Claremont County Fair. The Claremont County Fair in Owensville. I mean, I've been going down to Cincinnati for 4 years to high school. I am so unattached and out of my element with anything going on in Claremont County, I forgot where Owensville was. I said, well, okay, that sounds good to me. I was probably 5 minutes at the Claremont County Fair, and I ran smack dab into a little booth advertising UC Claremont College in Batavia, which it wasn't even called that then. It was 2 years old at the time. By the way, I'm really old. I don't know if you figured that out yet. And I walked up to that booth, and the man looked up and made eye contact with me, and I was so embarrassed. And I started to walk away, and he said, excuse me, ma'am. He said, do you want to know about going to college? Are you interested in going to college? And the little 4-year-old girl came out, and she said, no, I don't know. I know nothing about going to college. I can't go to college because they, no. I said, no. He said, everyone can go to college. Get over here. Come here. Talk to me. And so he started talking to me, and that little 4-year-old girl started to grow up and become, I was like 18 at the time, and I started getting some courage, and he started filling my head with more and more information and power, and I started taking big breaths, and then he started telling me about student loans and how to get a loan, and then he started mentioning my parents. And then reality struck. And I started thinking about that man called R.J. And I said, I don't think I can go to college. He said, yes, you can. You're 18 years old. You can make decisions for yourself. And I said, okay. I won't turn into that 4-year-old scared girl. I'm going to stay 18. I'm going to college. I'm going to college. And I went home and on my own. I filled out the applications. I went to the bank. I applied for a student loan. All of this happened within, it felt like a minute, but it took a couple of weeks. I got accepted to go to UC Claremont College with probably the worst grades ever. And then I stood out in the backyard and waited for my dad to come home. And I was so nervous, and that youngest guy, Tommy, who still had a little bit of speech problems because now he's fallen off his bike and chipped his front teeth out. He's out in the backyard with this, like, Superman cape and his underwear on. I don't know, that kid has problems. And so my dad comes home, he gets out of the car, and I said, I got to show you something, Dad. My hand was shaking, and because my dad wasn't real, he had plans for me. He wanted me to stay and work at the business that he owned, and he didn't believe I needed to go to college because he believed what everybody else said. She's a little off. She's a little slow. Just keep her home. I said, Dad, look, it's my acceptance letter to UC. Here's my loan. I'm going to college. He said, oh, no, you're not. I took a big breath, and I said, yes, Dad, I am. I want to go. It's my dream. Now, I didn't tell him I'm going to be an actress and I'm going to run off to California and have an acting career. I just said, yes, Dad, I'm going to college. And in the background, there's my brother with 2 teeth out flying around with Superman cape and underwear going, Sue's going to college. Sue's going to college. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, my entire support team is my goofy little brother in underwear and Superman cape. But I'll take it. I'll take the support. And so began my journey. 2 years, UC Claremont College. Not the best student there was, but the most dedicated. I got involved with student activities. I was in student government. I loved it. Gave me the strength, the power I needed, the encouragement. My dad got used to it. And then I went on down to the big college, down at the main campus, and I graduated with honors. I learned, because I changed majors, and I went into education, special education. And it was there that I began to peel back the layers of Susan, and I learned, oh my gosh. When I started to learn about learning disabilities, I said, this is me. All these years, I suffer from something called dyslexia. Who knew? I can apply these great learning and teaching tools to myself to be a better learner. And in that 2 years, my grades went from to A's. And to see quarter after quarter being on the dean's list, it was like, who is this person? Oh, that's me. It was exhilarating. And then to graduate on the dean's list, to exaggerate cum laude, to graduate with honors, it was like nothing. I just can't even explain how exhilarating it was. And I am firstborn generation in the Velardo family to graduate from college. So it was kind of like a big deal for a little 4-year-old to come from a place where she felt like she was failing. The next piece I just want to share with you is I went on a huge journey, not only with myself scholastically and kind of mentally, because you don't go from feeling like a dummy and then to feeling like you're scholastically successful, but you do that emotionally because you feel like you're living with your self-esteem on the bottom of the soles of your feet, on the bottom of your shoes. So it takes a lot to feel like you can rise up. So you need to find a support person, even if it's just one person who believes in you. And not just the kid who's flying around the backyard in his underwear in a little Superman cape. I had my grandparents who believed and supported in me all the time. So when I felt like there were dark days, those were the people that I could go to. And then they passed away, and then they weren't around. So sometimes that person I had to go to was that little girl, that little 4-year-old girl that I forgot about. I needed to learn to love her again. Hence, I needed to learn to love myself because I forgot about that. Hugely important. So here's what happened to me. After I graduated from college, I had no idea what I was going to do with my career, this little box of, okay, you graduated, here you go, this is yours, what are you going to do with it now? And yes, remember the guy that's not in the picture anymore because I covered him up with my 2 nieces? I was married, and so his job took us to Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, Michigan. Whoa! Not like Milford, Ohio, because that's where I grew up. And after 1 year, that marriage ended. And so here's my mom and dad going, yeah, come on home, come on home. I said, I don't think so. I'm having too much fun. And I stayed in Detroit, in the Detroit area, or kind of in a radius area, for 10 years, doing all sorts of different jobs, working with people with disabilities. Then got into a relationship that took me to Connecticut. Stayed in that area for about 3 or 4 years, really got into the acting field. I didn't do it full time, I did it part time. Tried my hand at stand-up comedy, improvisation, was working out in New York, went to the city, came back on the train. I lived right in, Connecticut's this big. So you can get to New York in no time, you can get to all these other little states. Left Connecticut for another relationship and moved all the way, stopped in Ohio, said, hey, Mom and Dad, and went right on over to Baldwin City, Kansas. And you should be saying, where the heck is Baldwin City, Kansas? It's just south of Lawrence. The Jayhawks, That gives you a frame of reference. It's just right over the border of Kansas when you get into Kansas. It's not way out in Kansas, but I really loved Kansas. And I was there for about 6 years, working a huge assortment of jobs. Then, about 20 years ago, I got a call about a family member who was pretty ill and ailing and just needed some in-home care. And I kind of looked at my life. I had been gone for 20 years. And I looked at this network of people that I told you are just so powerfully important to me. And I got to thinking, you know what? I've been doing my thing. I'm by myself. I miss these people. It's time to go home. I love Kansas, though. I really love Kansas. The sky is enormously beautiful. But my career is powerfully built now. I'm going to go home. So I'm ending my story with kind of a huge circle, with you keeping in mind the one thing that I struggled with was reading. For the last 13 years, almost 14 now, I have been the executive director of the Literacy Council for Claremont and Brown counties. Who knew that the one thing that I struggle with the most is reading, that I help adults who don't know how to read and write learn how to read and write. So I am I kind of ran through my whole history and my whole story, and I don't know if I'm tying this up too soon or is it good? I'm getting the good sign. Usually I have a habit of running on too long, but I am just so appreciative of being able to be with you all and tell you my story and my journey, and to tell you that if any of you ever feel like you get that horrible wrenching feeling in your stomach that says you can't do something, I hope you heard me loud and clear. You find someone who believes in you, who tells you you can, and you figure out how you can make it happen.